I can go back and give myself advice or any other artist, take care of business first, the creative second. Every artist is going to be able to be self-sustained as an entrepreneur and as a brand.
All right, well, today we have Sean Washington, also known professionally as S.T.G, my best friend. He's from Delaware, a native who went from a small town without a musical outlet and no resources to the Howard University, where he built the foundation for his artistry and businesses. His mission is to be the voice for the voiceless, and as an artist, his musical catalog is an autobiography as he turns real life experiences from broken relationships to adulthood crisis into introspective bars through versatile melodies, flows, and cadences. Following in the footsteps of rap moguls like 50 Cent, Jay-Z, and Nipsey Hustle, S.T.G is looking to embed the roots of the culture into the mainstream for the long term. S.T.G, welcome to the Pros on Process stage.
What's up, Vondell, man? That was a bio right there. That's a hell of a bio.
That was a hell of a bio, and I'm excited to have been a part of your journey, even at Howard. I got the privilege of meeting you early on in your career back at Howard University when we were still walking to local open mic nights and you were reciting poetry. And I still have your first projects on CD and your wristbands and all of that. So it's just fun to be able to be a part of that process. Fast forward to today, and you're now the founder and CEO of Mecca Made. You have this label, you're bringing other artists in under you. Before we dive into what you're doing today, take us back to those early days grinding out towards your dream while at Howard. How did you get your start, and what role did the university play early on?
Well, it's funny when you say, how did I get my start? Because really, technically, my start was in high school. So I already started off selling mixtapes in the hallways of my high school, burning CDs. I already kind of came from that hustle from like Master P selling mixtapes out his trunk. So I was already kind of prepared going to Howard University, and I went there because of Diddy. Really, of like, okay, bet he's out there on the campus promoting his parties. I got to make sure everybody knows who I am. As soon as we touch the campus, first week of school, I'm passing out CDs. What's up? I'm S.T.G. I'm S.T.G from the deli. I'm S.T.G from the deli. The 302, they're like, yo, what's the deli? So that was the birth of it all, really, and how I kind of, I feel like, met a lot of my peers right now, such as you, and really kind of just being ready for whatever. I always was taught to be ready in the drop of a dime. So memorizing lyrics, spontaneously going to those open mics, and just getting my name out there was the most important thing to me at that time. And then as I started networking and getting friends and people that supported me, kind of started building my teams, small teams that helped me put together events on campus, open mics, and so forth.
One of the first things we partnered on was a listening party back at Howard. Talk us through that experience. Why are listening parties as a event important for rising artists, and what were you able to do as a result of that experience?
I think that listening parties are important for rising artists because it gives people a chance to dive into the music with them. So let's say like for my debut project was What a Week. And outside of just, posting a link and people check out my music, check out my music, it really gave people a moment to come in and experience music with me in person because it's different. Music in person and around other people, uh, it creates like it's a vibe in terms of like people that are alike and kind of on the same wavelength. So I felt like I was trying to cultivate a fan base and see who my target demographic was. So it also helps you figure out who likes what. You can see the reactions in real time. When certain songs come on, you can just look over there and be like, oh, okay, this is what the girls like. Okay, this is what the guys like. And then you can get feedback. You have Q&As, which was really helped me grow as an artist because a lot of people really gave amazing feedback. I remember we had a Google Doc for people to vote on what song they believe should be the single, what song they believe is the hottest song on the album, boom, boom, boom. So it helped me choose based on what the people want. And I feel like as artists, we have an ego sometimes, and something we might think is the best. So we're like, oh, nah, this is the one, this is the one. and you get out there, you give it to the people, it's possible you could be right, but it's very possible that you could be wrong and the people like something else.
Definitely. I remember that whole process too, and that was an unconventional route, right? Like, I don't think it's normal for people to pull up with, surveys and Google Forms, but I was adamant. I remember having that conversation with you because I think I was taking a marketing class at that time that was like, we need to survey the crowd and understand what their consumer interests are. Like, I was very much so like, we're going to legitimize this. And I think in thinking like that, I also didn't understand what role listening parties played because I didn't realize that it wasn't necessarily like a finished or completed body of work at which you started having people listen in on it. Like, I didn't know if there was steps after a listening party where you could go back into the studio and make tweaks or edits or change things based off of feedback. So it was a cool experience to have you as an artist being open to that structure in general. And I think it was really well received from the audience too, just having their feedback considered. And another thing that I think you do really well, like in lieu of getting booked, for example, you've taken to providing your fans with like self-curated showcases. And I was able to be a part of the process of, one that you brought to life in Delaware, and we even brought to life some productions in New York. And you've done several since with the help of a really small team. Curating these showcases. You've done several in Atlanta as well. So I would love to hear your perspective as like an artist, but also like a manager of other artists or a label that's responsible for bringing other people's creative visions to life too, what your process is for creating showcases and what you recommend artists looking to do the same, like the steps that they would take, maybe shedding some light on budget, shedding some light on how you market it, because there's such an engine around bringing something like that to life.
Someone that I kind of study is Kanye West. And as we just talked before about listening parties, really that's what Kanye West is doing on a grand scale right now, of the Mercedes-Benz Stadium 2 times in a row without even dropping an album. Having people come out just to hear the album, and then he can go back and make his tweets. So that comes from me just being a fan of a lot of the greats. And I kind of look at my career or music, or even when I'm dealing with other artists, of what does the fan want? What would I put myself in their shoes every single time. What would I want from my favorite artists? What do I want them to do? And a lot of times, even just in the past 10 years of me even going through this journey, is artists wouldn't do the things that I want them to do. In my head, I'm like, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they think of this? I'm like, why is their team not doing this? And I feel like I come up with a million ideas at a time and not $1 million budget to do so. So it's like, okay, cool. What can I do at my level with my budget that's something different for the people, from an indie artist, and what's going to make them come and experience this with me and leave with something. So every event, I want them to leave like, that was like, no matter what. I don't care, even if they didn't like the music, they're going to leave there like, that was an experience. I with him. I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss. I'm sorry. But that's like the number one thing in my mind, is that I want people to really leave with an experience. And that's what I call the Mecca Made way. Like, that was different. That was dope. They're really, and I really believe in word of mouth. And I think that's the strongest sense of marketing, is for people to actually share things with their friends, or go in their group chats and be like, yo, y'all going to S.T.G's next event, the Mecca Made next event? I went to the last one. It was crazy. Boom, 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 boom. That's more valuable to me than likes and comments on Instagram.
Right.
So yeah, and really just building a team comes along with just people that really truly believe in you.
You've acquired an occult following, right? Like, you have fans that have been with you, riding with you from the beginning, and then you, from those fans, are able to reach people within their circles and kind of continue to build that following through and through. But I do think you also have a strategic advantage in the partnerships or the family that you've created under Mecca Made, and that, like, there are several artists associated with the label, right? that then you guys end up maybe sharing a fan base of sorts. What has gone into your process for considering artists as a part of Mecca Made?
It really just goes off of family. Like everybody that's affiliated with Mecca Made, I consider family. Mm-hmm. And that starts with me liking you, first of all. That's number one. I actually have to like you. And that will grow into love, of course. And then the music being dope. So, I mean, the music's going to last when we're even gone. Yeah. So I feel like that's going to always be one of the number one things. But at the end of the day, the chemistry is natural because we're all family.
And switching gears to more so the creative process that you have, you write your own lyrics, or in most cases, right, or all cases, you write your own lyrics. How do you go about keeping your skills fresh? Do you have certain rituals for creativity, like certain things that you do to get in the zone? How do you plug into that mode?
I feel like the mode just comes naturally when I feel something. Because I got to the point where I really only make music when I feel it. So like even when we're going through beats, I'm next. When I feel something inspired, then we move forward with it. There might be certain situations where one of my producers, Rocco or Cam, will push me to like, no, let's go with this. I got ideas for this. And that's when we come into co-writing and collaborations. Mm-hmm. Because actually so when I made What a Week, my first project, then I put out What a Summer, second project. After that, I kind of hit a wall in terms of writing for about a year, I feel like. Mm-hmm. And that's when I moved to LA. And that's when, because I kind of hit my ceiling in that chapter in my life, I felt like. But I didn't know that at the time. But then when I moved to LA and I opened up my views to more things, and I took a step back, actually. That's when I rebranded. That's a whole nother story, from Prestige to S.T.G. I just went through a transition where I just was in life and I didn't focus on, I wasn't writing. I was just working, hustling, making connections, building relationships, and living life. And I never got a chance to really do that. So like even in college, I was always like, I'm trying to blow up. I'm always focused on that. And I never got to really be in the moments. So when I got to do that, it opened me up. And then that's when actually Rocco and Cam, when they came out to LA, that was probably the moment that the light switch hit for me. That's when I found the chemistry, like we was talking about, with artists that I work with. Because before then, it was really just me writing by myself, just writing down lyrics, boom, and go to the studio record. And it was different when I brought them into the room, and it's where I have a melody in my head or I have lyrics and I spit it out loud to them. And I can see them, they're nodding their head, they're like, nah, that's not it. It's someone right there in the moment telling you that line is not it. That is trash. Rewrite that. Maybe you should change that word right there. Maybe you should start singing the little melody right here. And that was a game changer. Mm-hmm. And that was a game changer. And that's even how the record Trippin' came about. Because
that's a vibe.
Yep, that's a vibe. It's a vibe. And it was a totally different, it was like a rap. And I was like, just come through, get lifted. I was spitting it fast. I was rapping over some different beat. And then Rocco was like, nah, that's not it, bro. But then Cam said, hold up, wait a minute. Wait, do that one part again? Why is you tripping? What is your issue? Come through and get. He's like, yo, that's hard. Like, I could be, yo, that's catchy. I could be, and then you add a little key to it. And that's when I started learning about like harmonizing and adding keys to my voice more so than just rapping it in monotone. And they taught me all of that. So they opened up my musicality.
100%, that's huge. And being able to like attest your creative spark to a tribe is huge, right? Like collaboration in creative spaces is really, really important, and I feel like it's not talked about enough. There's always this mantra of like, I've done this all myself, that like the purest sense may be true. Like maybe you're the face of said song or whatever, or the engine behind it, but there's always like a creative team that's really, really fueling anything. And so I do appreciate you taking a moment to nod to some people that have inspired you. You're also into like beyond writing, right? Directing, producing your own music videos, like that requires an incredible amount of collaboration as well. Do you have when I look at some of the stuff that you've created visually, I want to understand too the behind the scenes on how you come up with like the ideas for your project. We can take like a Trippin' or a Boss Your Life Up as an example, but like your process for bringing your music to life visually. Are you thinking of the music before you write the song, as you write it? Like, how do you end up coming up with some of these directions for the music that you've produced?
Well, I'm a big movie nerd, and so visual. I always love visuals, and I'm really big into acting as well. So I definitely want to dive into that in my career. So really, I definitely think about it after the music, after I create the record, then I take it and I listen to it a million times.
Yeah.
First of all, and
Yeah.
then I literally can just take out put portions of it of like, okay, what does this apply to real life situations, and what it come from, and how can I either add satire to it and make it entertaining to where someone can watch it, and then they'll get all these different uh, aspects and perceptions of it.
Let's take one of them for example.
Yeah,
Walk us through one of your projects.
Trip is my favorite visual I directed.
Okay.
So, and shout out to Karan, actually, one of our bros, we co-directed it. Basically, in the lyrics, I'm talking about, girl, why is you tripping? What is your issue? And it goes from my real life situations of like, you get in an argument with your entanglement, and you're like, oh, why is she always tripping? Like, she going to my phone, she always doing to do this. And in reality, the reality is that I'm giving her reasons to trip. So that's what I wanted to do visually, because even the song alone, like everybody's thinking it like, yeah, bro, I feel you, bro, I feel you. So then I wanted to make sure I grab the other side of it and show you that I'm tripping, that I'm actually the one tripping. The woman's not really tripping. And then that's how it is in most situations. So it's like, okay, how can I showcase? And I love, I always wanted to do a one take video style. Mm-hmm. So, and it's kind of like a finesse too, because of being an independent artist and you don't have a budget. It's like, all right, how can I do this in terms of like without shooting multiple days, getting multiple locations? I was like, all right, cool. One location, my apartment. Okay, how can I figure this out, how to shoot this in my apartment? From the bedroom, did the blocking to the living room. Okay, how can I make this interesting? I'm gonna have different girls. How can I add another layer to that? I have to change my do-rags to show that it's different days. So like, okay, boom, into the bathroom, into the kitchen. And then each woman has to have a different personality and shows a different emotion of them tripping.
I also love how you're like casually glossing over the fact that you were able to think through those elements of production, right? That's a very hard skill. Like, and so while we wouldn't be able to demystify that process in this short amount of time, like the fact that your brain can even work in that way is incredible. It's impressive. You're not only like a rapper, that can get on a stage and perform, but you also can like break down and block a production, which is insane. And so that brings me to, the point of Mecca Made, right? Your goal is to be more than just a rapper, right? You're building a brand. Tell us more about what you're ultimately building as, the Mecca Made family, and even, projects that you have like What a Week and the broader vision for that as a product, the broader vision for the label and the artists you sign, just going into kind of your vision for it all.
Good question. So my vision for it is building an entertainment monopoly, really. So in Mecca Made, the dynasty, where every artist is going to be able to be self-sustained as an entrepreneur and as a brand, because as artists, we're brands, and we're businesses in ourselves. Mm-hmm. So with me just definitely being from a director, producer, songwriter, artist to clothing line, I want to get into the same thing: film, TV, and music, and then also hip hop's and fashion. So it's kind of, I just wanted to be able to touch all of them and keep it under one umbrella. So embodying pop culture and Black culture, and being able to showcase that through the music and through the arts. And I'm gonna instill that in all of my artists and anyone I work with.
Right, and you're carving out that lane as the blueprint for it, testing everything out on yourself and then kind of bringing other people along for the ride to follow in your footsteps, which is incredible. And I think along the way, every artist has their ups and downs, right? Along their journey, there are a lot of periods where you may have to pause and kind of reflect on how you've done certain things, how you've navigated the business. And for people that are coming up, this could serve as a big piece of advice for people that are tuning into this and wanting to build something for themselves, whether in film or music or events, right? Any of the areas that you've been able to navigate. Phrasing this as a piece of advice for people watching. If you could go back and do anything different along the way, what would it be? And if nothing, like if you're like, nah, I would keep everything the same, right? If all things stayed the same, what advice would you give to help artists avoid any mistakes that you might have made along the way?
If I can go back and give myself advice or any other artist, is to take care of business first, and then the creative second. And it even goes to where, like, if you are not a business mindset person and you just want to only handle the creative, then you have to find somebody that will handle the business for you. The people that's thinking about budgeting, finances, so you don't hit a wall. Because I've ran in those situations where it's just like, oh, I'll worry about that later. This is what I want, so I'm gonna blow the bag right now. This is what I want right now. And then you didn't think about handling this side or the marketing side, or making sure that your employees or people that you work with are taken care of, from transportation to food to anything, paperwork, signing paperwork, having a calendar day by day, because you will lose track of time and look up and you'll be like, dang, what do I have to show for it? Or not even keeping tracks and records of the things that you did do, from tickets that you may have sold, from merchandise that you've sold, and then following that for taxes, et cetera, et cetera. So the list goes on. Is that always put the business first, and then the fun stuff is going to literally flood, and it's going to make it a lot easier so that you don't have to backtrack.
All right. I mean, you heard it here first, everybody. He said you need to have somebody that handles the business behind the arts. So that's some free promo for me.
Yes. Thankless Productions will take care of you, for sure.
So any other projects you'd like to promote? What are you excited about in the future? Where can viewers find you and your work? So on and so forth, just to make sure we're plugged in with you and Mecca Made for future.
I got it. Well, you're hearing this here first. That Mecca Made is working on a mixtape, a group project, and it's gonna be crazy. So we're working on that right now. We're all individually working on our debut projects. And if you want to stay tuned, you can follow me at S.T.G the Goat, S-T-I-G-E the Goat, and follow the team at Mecca Made, MECCAMADE.
Awesome. Well, this has been incredible, S.T.G. Thank you for demystifying parts of your creative process. And thank you all for tuning into Pros on Process. Pros on Process will continue to pull back the curtain on obscure aspects of the creative process. And to the TP tribe, if there are any other questions you wish we would have covered, make sure to leave us a note in the comments below, and we will be sure to get a pro to tackle your process as it pertains to your inquiry. In the meantime, subscribe to the channel to stay in the loop and give this video a thumbs up to let us know to keep them coming. See you guys next time.
The Mecca Made way.